very few conscious, so I cannot agree with my own chorus.
Trinidad is nice, Trinidad is a paradise.
But I hear some people talking about revolution day, changes on the way. They're born in a land, the better parts controlled by the alien. They fill the pockets of Portuguese, Chinese and Syrians. Trinidadians is who should own land. Now is the time to make the land their possession, but their sense. You talk about a place where the people are carefree living. It is such a place of fun-loving, spraying and petting. This the land where people don't care if Ash Wednesday fall on Good Friday. Man, they love to struggle in this happy-go-lucky way. It's Blockorama, Fetorama, and just now is Masorama. So the foreigner come for carnival, and he telling himself after he had a ball.
Trinidad is nice, Trinidad is a paradise.
Mr. Foreigner, in La Trinity, the people have a carnival mentality.
Trinidad is nice, Trinidad is a paradise.
They are not serious, very few conscious, so I cannot agree with my own chorus.
Yes, indeed, of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry, East, West, North, South, Central, our friends in Tobago, and wherever you are, streaming on the World Wide Web. Pleasant good day to you. Yes, this is, the Thursday edition. Yes, I think I have it right this time around. Thursday, and it has reached, I wouldn't say thank God, but of course, it's an opportunity not to be here tomorrow night, because, of course, I have to recuperate, I have to refresh, I have to re-energize, and so of course Friday nights give me the opportunity so to do. But that be as it may, we have of course some serious matters that we have of course to discuss, and on Saturday we will continue. What are they? Well, of course Dr. Rowley has hosted of course a press let's say a press exercise, a press entertainment period, where of course he asked the press not to forget him. Well, I don't know who could forget Rowley. And of course, all of the memories will be one of hate, pain, agony, distress, maladministration, corruption, nepotism, cronyism, and of course, sending Trinidad and Tobago into a tailspin of decadence and economic destruction, apart from, of course, the terrorism that, of course, his administration has perpetrated on the people of Trinidad and Tobago. That is what he will be remembered for. Therefore, no other Prime Minister dared to do that but him, a total miscreant, criminal, and clearly one who, of course, had no sense or has no sense of what the true prime ministerial position is and government and governance. So, happy riddance. But of course, he better stay close, because his blue lights and silver bracelet will, of course, await his so-called retirement. Because all of them, the entire government, under his stewardship, and subsequently, when Stuart Young, if at all he comes into action at all, will have to, of course, pay the price for the evil that they would have done to Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad is nice, yes. Yes, and it's a paradise for, of course, those who, Rowley and they, the 1% that they have created, including themselves, as part of that 1% category of persons in this country. Depending on the government, and is prepared, of course, to give away our resources to these people unmeritoriously. Let's hear a little more.
Trinidad is nice, Trinidad is a paradise.
Yet the song I sing Like if I hear the chorus singing, God save the King.
Trinidad is nice, Trinidad is a paradise.
But I hear my brother talking about revolution day, fighting on the way.
Every road to be built in this country has to be built by the government. Every school, every health center, every this, every that. Because in this country, for the last generation or two, we've grown up under government. Well, you better begin to be weaned off the government. Well, you better begin to be weaned off the government.
That's just how it is. We have subsidized water, subsidized electricity, subsidized education. We have subsidized public transportation. And all of these things we now have to pull back on. All of these things we now have to pull back on.
It is such a place of fun-loving, freeing and fetting.
A coal pot, you know,
Tis the land
where I
where
put my
people
coals and I roast my
don't care
breadfruit.
if Ash Wednesday
So if you
fall
don't
on
have
Good
that, go
Friday.
back
Man,
until
they
such
love
time
to
as you can
struggle
afford the gas.
in this happy,
But don't
go
come and
lucky
blame me
week.
not having gas on.
Is blocked
Every road to be built in this country
Rama,
has to
and
be built
just
by the
now,
government. Every school, every health center, every this, every that. Because in this country, for the last generation or two, we've grown up under government. Well, you better begin to be weaned off the government. Well, you better begin to be weaned off the government.
That's just how it is. We have subsidized water, subsidized electricity, subsidized education. We have subsidized public transportation. And all of these things we now have to pull back on. All of these things we now have to pull back on.
Madam Speaker, I still have.
Let's pause for a cause because it is important for us to understand. Those were the early days of the Rowley PNM administration who told us on the 8th of September 2015, if you continue to support Kamala Prasad Bisesa, you will be doing yourselves a disservice. We know now, it having come full circle, that it was a parasitic and serial sociopath was telling us that. You know what I say? I say a parasitic, recurring sociopath that was telling us that. Because when he got into government, and the first of one of the many first occasions that he had to address the population, he addressed the population in Laventille by saying that, listen, you have to wean off the government. And on another occasion, when he got the opportunity to speak to the nation on this occasion in St. Augustine, he started to lambaste the ground report, Lennox Smith, Andy, and Mikey, and say that we, of course, were castigating his father and his mother. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's then we start to watch him. If you could tell such a blatant lie, it may well mean, even though there was a tremendous amount of sympathy and amount of goodwill, because before he came into government and before the 2015 elections, he was attacking Manning. He was, of course, a advocate for anti-corruption. You could swear that the man was an efficacious individual, that he was straightforward, that he was a stickler for governmental procedures, transparency and accountability. Well, he turned out to be a blasted promoter of corruption. And we will prove that tonight, among other things. But let's go to the line. Let's go to the line immediately. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
You on tonight?
We are on right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay then. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, people. Sorry about that. A corruption promoter started to sweat a little bit because the fan was not oscillating in the right direction. Now it is. Yes, people. The man told us that. He told us that early in the game. And then, of course, before that, he displayed a different character and personality. But let's go to the line. Oh, yes. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Lennox, good night. That's let me call you, man.
Yes, man. I appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. Yes, indeed.
Let's. I know you're tired, man. I know you're tired.
yeah. But we had to go.
I myself very tired.
Yes.
Listen, where I was talking this morning, and I asked a question. Where that man gonna sell refinery, and who gave him, or what gave him permission to do that? Who gave him? Because the refinery belongs to the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
Which my father and your father or everybody else work hard. My father was working the oil refinery with the rig. My brother was working the rig for Petrotrin and all of that. When it was TCT, right? I don't know if you remember that.
Of course, and all of the historical, the very what I consider to be patriotic history behind it, because it was about sovereignty. It was about independence. It symbolized all of that. It was about the pride of the people. But go ahead, my friend. I know that you can represent yourself adequately.
But I used to work. I used to work for TCT too.
United States on the line.
I used to work for TCT. I work for TCT.
Yes.
I work for the oil field, I work in the pipeline, running pipeline all in about the place. Because my father was a surveyor in TCT down there, and he was in charge of that, right? So, but Lennox, all these lies that Raleigh tells from the beginning, and they all know that. Close on Petrotrin, he lies about he's not going to bring on the tax. He put back all the food and everything.
Yes.
Everything went up. But the people decide in 2020, well, it happened in 2015. 2020 come back and he put it back again. Well, I would say he put himself there, because I don't think he ever won the election. And I don't think he won the vote of it. I think he's still the election. And he's trying it again. Right? But my concern is that when you sell that refinery, where the money is going to go to. Now, I just assume it. That where that money is going to go. But who's going to inherit that? You see what I'm saying?
Well,
if it's a grand charge again.
Oh, go ahead, yes.
Mm-hmm. If it's a grand charge again that he's going to sell the refinery that last time. Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know if he's making a grand charge that last time he's selling the refinery, remember?
Yeah.
Nothing didn't happen.
You can't put nothing beyond him. But what you know for sure, there's always something sinister. There's something evil behind those kinds of major decisions purporting to be on behalf of the people, because you have a slim majority in the parliament and the people didn't trust you to give you, of course, a landslide. They give you a slim majority, and that is what you're doing. Far less if you had a landslide. But go ahead.
But Lennox, when I was growing up, when I was young, growing up as a man, my father worked in oil here. I was taught that the oil refinery, which was Texaco one time in Petrotrin, right, was the backbone of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
I was taught that. And the oil was called black oil.
That's right.
That I was taught. Himself, I wasn't going to school, college, but that's why I learned. And look what this man do. take the people resources and want to sell it for his political gain or some reason, like if it belongs to him, like the Trinidad and Tobago and the whole of Trinidad, it belongs to him. I don't know who gave him that. Lennox?
You see, no, you're quite right. And I want to tell you as well that the man is so dishonest from the beginning by feeding us those lies that his character is one that anybody would want to associate with, when in fact it is dirty like maybe the Labas. But he told us that the country has to depend on oil and gas. It has to depend on fossil fuel for its survival in the meantime, in the immediate to medium term. But yet still you got rid of that particular facility, which ultimately we knew was making money, and that they never between 2015, 2016, 2017 until 2019, when of course they dismissed everybody, and the Treasury now had to fork out over $2 billion to settle, of course, the sovereigns and other expenditures associated with the closing down of Petrotrin.
Even said before, man. Even said before all of that years ago, if Eric William, all of them coming up with banning all of them. You friend you was making money. It's always there.
Yeah, blatant lie by
Right.
Rowley.
And you coming up blatant lie, and people sit down and listen to that nonsense, this man.
Yeah.
Rowley, why they get the hell out of there, man?
That is how you
Go.
can be angry.
We don't see you when the sun
Get the
shines.
hell out, Rowley. They talk about people go. They go remember you, yes.
We don't want to hear. We don't want to hear
only
nothing that you say.
ugly son of a gun that was so wicked and evil to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. The hatred of the people, the anathema to you, I mean, is unfathomable. But go ahead, my friend.
Lennox, I don't like them hear that. I don't want to listen to that man. I don't want to listen to what he
you
say.
get angry
I
when
don't
you hear
care,
him.
nothing.
And always looking as though he mamagaing and making fun of the people, and he alone reveling in that level of evil. The man is absolutely and totally saturated with wickedness.
But Lennox, look what he bring that country to, man.
Yeah.
Look at that country.
Quite
I
right.
keep telling people, I keep saying it over. Reason why I'm saying it over, I calling over here in United States, and I calling Trinidad and talking to the people, and they listen, because we know, we seen it, what's going on.
Yeah.
What you are paying attention, we paying attention. We know that, and we telling you what is going on with that place. You know, it's not. This is craziness.
You can't.
That
You
people
can't believe it.
adored
It
the man.
unfolded before
But
your
you
eyes,
can't believe
and you
it.
can't believe it. You can't believe it because
Everything
it is
aside, man.
simply
Leno,
unprecedented.
put everything aside.
Yeah.
Put everything aside.
Yeah.
Look how this man do with the country, man.
Yeah.
And people sit down, like where Mikey this morning, we said, and people sit down and take that. Look what this man bring now, the SOE. He tried to stifle the people of their rights.
That's right.
That is what he's doing.
Everything evil. You could reference Rowley.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, my
All
friend.
right, let somebody come.
Yes.
All right.
Thanks very much, of course, for that intervention. A pleasant good night. Sorry about that, caller. Go ahead. Make your contribution.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. Make your contribution.
Lennox Smith is on jackass ass. You only brain, you damn ass.
Well, I suppose you see in me that which is in you. Whosoever you see in me that which is in you, you jackass. Right? So let us not waste time. But I want to tell the previous caller, of course, that listen, it is the conscience of the people, like the one just called, for example, is real. They know the facts. They have a conscience. They are here. They are suffering, like the last caller, for example. But somehow they are in denial. I want to tell them that the person who has 2020 vision, let me repeat, the person who has 2020 vision and therefore can see but refuses to see is extremely dangerous. But thank God, this grouping is a reducing and of course almost extinct group of individuals. As the people of course see every day, the tragedy, the trauma, the evil, and the diabolical nature. There's a word that I want to use, and I will use it a little more regularly because I think I'll be using it for the first time on this program. Mephistophelian. Yes. A Mephistophelian is, of course, an individual who has a creative ability to do evil and to conjure up evil. Devil, Mephistophelian. Look it up and you will get that. So that's a word we're supposed to be able to apply to Rowley and his administration. And those, of course, who have not yet seen the light and are living, of course, either in denial or in a state of illusion. Let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Dr. Lennox.
Good night to you, my friend. Yes.
You will tell me for a good night to all the listeners, Trinidad and Tobago, internationally. Yeah. Dr. Lennox, you will tell me if I'm going wrong, right?
Go ahead, my friend.
When PNM, when the Docklands and them win the election, right?
Uh-huh.
Or TV election, it looked like to me.
Yes.
Anyhow, as the getting power didn't over thousands of people lost their work.
Well, yes, and the term the Prime Minister used, because remember, that too was a lie when on the campaign trail when he said, of course, that he will do better than Kamala, that he could do more with less. In addition, of course, to saying that he reduced VAT from 15% to 12.5%, but never told us that the 7,000 items, a majority part of it will be subjected to the 12.5%, so that he did really nothing. Apart from, of course, telling us that he will not, of course, pursue property tax. The fact that he said as well that, of course, the subsidies will not be tackled. All of that he told us. And apart from all of that, he then, of course, then he started to pursue the dismissal of workers in the public sector, or where the government has some kind of input, because, of course, they are government. But let me tell you what he used, because they are clever with semantics. That is why I'm using the term Mephistophelian, because here it is. He started to tell us, not a gazetted worker. In other words, those permanent workers, because the system has a lot, of course, of temporary workers and contracted workers. So he made it clear that not a gazetted, giving himself some kind of glory and some kind of self-praise, because not a gazetted worker has been, of course, interfered with. Come on. He couldn't do it without, of course, a serious struggle or the destruction of the public sector. He couldn't do it. Cannot do it.
Right.
Well, tell me about you had the option to get rid of gazetted worker. That is what he's telling you. But of course, that is for the sycophants and the apologists and those who, of course, are unaware of his shenanigans. But go ahead, my friend. I thought I should explain it in that way.
Right.
That's what he did.
So as the reaching, thousands of workers lost the work.
Yes, that's
Correct?
right. System had thousands of casual workers and contracted workers, etc. from all over the place, whether it be Caroni Green, whether it be, of course, the Chagaramas Development Authority, whether it be in Tobago. They got rid, of course, of the Tobago, the Ministry for Tobago Matters, because, of course, Delman Baker under the UNC was managing that. He got rid of that, and therefore all the workers are therein.
Right. Now,
Caller, just
all
hold on.
these
Takawego,
thousands
just
of,
hold on. We have another caller on the line.
all,
Yes. Go ahead, sir. Yeah.
all these thousands of workers, they have children.
Yeah.
Good?
Including, of course, later
Right.
down the road, the 17 directly relating to Petrotrin, and those indirectly that amount to about 45,000 persons in the southwestern peninsula that would have been displaced as a result of the closing down of Petrotrin. Well, go ahead.
Right. Right. So, as the reaching, thousands lost the work.
Yes.
After that, closed down Petrotrin, thousands again lost the work.
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Right. They wanted to pass a law, $8,000 if they catch it out a seatbelt. Good?
If they catch it, what?
Now, if PNM wanted to pass a law, if they catch it out a seatbelt,
Oh, yeah, yes.
you have to pay $8,000.
Yeah. But that was before him. That was before him anyway. Yeah. But go ahead. Oh,
No,
you mean,
no,
oh,
that was when-
you mean to upgrade it? Right. I hear you. Yes. Yes,
No.
that's right. Amend it. Yes.
No, Raul and them wanted to pass a law that if the catcher out a seatbelt, you have to pay $8,000.
Yeah. This
They
is
wanted to pass a
they
law.
amend what was there to increase, of course, to be more punitive and to probably one way to for them to increase their taking as far as tax are concerned, because they see it as tax. But go ahead. I hear you. I understand.
No. If let us say it always has room for mistakes, plus a police might like a man and frame him with a ticket for a seatbelt.
Yeah, it may be a frivolous matter.
A poor man whose house might be even worth $8,000. Where he getting $8,000 to pay a ticket?
Sure,
And he had to see
that does not concern Rauli, and that has been their modus operandi. They are naturally evil. I tell you, Mephistophelian is at work there. They are Mephistophelian.
Right. What? I don't want to stay too long.
Go ahead.
Right, but watch this last one. The numeric points, right? Thousands of people in send home, right? As you any ticket you get, whether it's for stopping. I take for instance like the taxi drivers and the maxi drivers, right? It have this is a third world country. That is a first world
measure
thing, right?
Yeah.
Right. Now, people will be stopping. People like plenty people let's go where you ain't supposed to stop. The majority of people going where a maxi is supposed to stop, right? And when if you stop there, you mightn't be obstructing nobody. Sometimes it might be obstructing, right?
Yeah.
But plenty of time you ain't obstructing nobody.
You use your discretion, because if it was occupied, you would not stop there. But go ahead. Yeah.
Right. You know, it's points for right through for them thing. So when you send up all these maxi drivers and these taxi drivers, how them gonna mind the turn? Every little thing. Now I don't mind the numeric points, but do it for serious thing. A man driving like you want to leg down people. Right?
Yeah, driving with Duke.
I don't mind that. A dangerous driving and thing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But oh gosh, this is a third world country. They need more laws where if you put that in place, right? Why you don't put in place where you jaywalking like the public? If them go and stopping you in a wrong place.
Don't be surprised if they see that as a means to gain revenue, because they capitalize on the habit of people of the population, and then of course say, well, that is a good source of income, and then they hit you for 6. Just as of course the people's tendency to save their money in the mattress. You see, they come and they concocted or conjure up a scenario where of course you exchange now the polymer for the cut notes on $2 bills. All of that is part of their trickery. All that is all about trickery, and of course putting the population into a tailspin. for wicked purposes because they have mismanaged our resources. But go ahead, finally, because I have somebody waiting.
Yeah, all right, but I'll finish now.
Yes.
But how I want to do my pointing, I want to ask wickedness, because if you really want to make money, right? When the drivers and them break the law, you charge them, and they go again and you charge them. But that is wickedness. That is wickedness, spiritual wickedness in no places. I'm telling you. And one more thing.
Go ahead.
One more thing.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Miss
cannot
Arima,
be
hold
given,
on. I'm just finishing up here. Go ahead.
You cannot be giving people demerit points for any little stupidness.
That's right. It must be something
that has to be for serious thing.
Yeah.
To send over man, because remember that man had children, you know.
Of course.
That man had children. So them, because it's not he alone, all of them, the whole PNM.
Yeah.
All of them. I
agree, my friend. I mean, that is not just a consensus. That is unanimous. Everybody agrees with that. Who have a modicum of consensus. And even those who defended them thinking that way too, but they shame, and they believe that somehow they must defend the indefensible. Finally?
Anyhow, one more thing, Dr. Lennox.
Go ahead.
They creating bandits in the place, because when you send them all them thousands of people, you feel going on. What you feel going on?
Well, that is what is happening.
You feel man watching the children on.
Not go on. It's what's happening. So thank you very much.
All right.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Brother.
Yes, man. Yes, Miss Arima, go ahead. Miss Arima, go ahead. Have somebody behind you as well.
Good night, Mr. Lennox Smith.
Yes, good night to you. Yes.
Yes, good night. So they have this SOE, right?
Yes.
And the soldiers and them have powers of arrest.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So let me call for overthrow now.
Well, I hear you, but I would prefer to go the direction where Rowley was saying that of course you shouldn't give soldiers powers because of course they are trained differently.
Watch me, we ain't all that long talk. You hear how short I talk?
Yeah,
we want to overthrow.
responding.
We have to call, let them arrest him. It's too much a thing going on with them.
Yes.
Right?
Now you're talking.
It's time to call. I just think for,
Yes.
Simple. Arrest this man because he's going against police service.
Yes.
Talking and set up bomb in the parliament. I know he aim, I know he aim. Remember that man go on a world stage, a platform, and ask for help for Haiti. Haiti sorry. And he wanted foreign troops to go to help fight the situation in Haiti. Say, he go help. You can remember that?
Yeah.
Now we can't send a Soca soldier from
Kenya
here.
send soldiers instead,
He can't send a Soca soldier. It's Kenya and Jamaica. Have to go inside a day.
Yes. So
right?
You come,
right. So you're showing your soldiers that we ain't really have no brave soldier. All right, you come now and you're talking about the police service.
Yes.
Then you come back and you're trying to lie, but you don't talk bad about the police service. You don't have no confidence in them.
We take him,
so what he
we
might
take him
do
out of
now,
context. So we misinterpret what he said.
Watch me. We want to hear he. He is a tie-up man. We need to arrest him.
Yes.
And he will look to bring in foreign troops inside of here, because if you don't have confidence and you're talking your police service bad, I find the service stations up to stand for that. Arrest this man forthwith.
Yeah.
Instead of they set a whole talk about all kind of things. Them thing with that man talking about, they now come petty, Them is petty thing. We don't get prone to all them kind of thing we talking about. The merit points. Is a serious situation here. Right now we looking like it might have no election. This man come and put this young Chinese man to be prime minister, to have here just like Cuba. When Fidel Castro stepped down, he put his brother there with his old self, but yet still they put Diaz Canal. Then Ortega, all of them is dictator with the Sandinistas. Only pay attention what's going outside. You sit down there and teaching big word. I wanted to watch what's going on outside there, right in the area here where we live in with Daniel Ortega. He looking to put his wife. This woman was looking like she in a movie with some kind of ghost and all kind of thing with she ugly face. And it's so he following them. Young is a serious dictator, you know.
Who's
and
that?
they will have
Who's the serious dictator?
Tie up.
Who's that serious
they
dictator?
Don't tie up. It's them who make that suggestion.
No, you mentioned a name. You said somebody's a serious dictator. I didn't hear. You'd call a name? Or you just said them?
A young Chinese man.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah. Okay.
You're dealing with them kind of people.
Nicaragua,
yes, all of them.
Yeah. The heir to the Rowley dictatorial throne.
Watch me, you see all them set up old talk, all it talking. They don't have time for that. We want the soldiers to arrest this man because he go against the forces. Right? He don't have confidence in them at all. If you talking so, and then them coming out and talking, is to arrest this man.
All right, okay then.
Will you ever hear that?
All right, thank you. All right. Yes, indeed. Of course. Let's go straight to the line again. Let's go. A pleasant good night, Mr. Tagarigua. Go ahead.
Hey, you had me holding on long and then I get cut off.
Yeah, sorry about that. We had a little a belligerent and a person who, of course, is a revolutionist, advocating violent overtake. It's not even a palace coup. But that's all right. This platform is for all and sundry. But go ahead.
Right. But I know you heard me on the go before this morning.
Yes, I did.
Right. So a handshake is a sacred thing among honorable men.
Yes,
you agree?
I agree. And I still believe in it as well. Your word,
right.
your word is your bond. Not right. Of course, I will not for one moment, one scintilla of a word or part of a word, I will take serious from Rowley. It's always something sinister. But go ahead.
That's why I talk about short talk with our handshake this morning.
Yes.
Well, you know about the war between Texas and New Mexico, right?
Yes.
That was eventually settled with a handshake, Lennox. A handshake between Santa Ana and Sam Houston. So when this man bending over, like, you know, if Lennox, I 77, going on 78. I just still walk straight, well, you know that.
Yeah.
And if I had to shake a man's hand, and he bend down, I ain't shaking his hand, you know.
I hear you.
No, I ain't shaking his hand. Only do him bend down.
Yeah, well, your reputation and your conduct and your demeanor, once you have intelligence, meaning that information of one kind or the other, you would know how to respond. You have to be a fool to know a person is evil to the core and has been disappointing and betrays as if it's going out of style. You ain't want to shake no hand with such an individual. But that is Rowley. Rowley have demonstrated that over and over and over and over. So we know that that is part of him and that is his character, and it stinks to deep hell. Go ahead.
Yeah, but yeah, the business who lead the party short young or that's their business. Yeah? We have we leader.
That's right.
Kamala, that's their business. Let it settle up that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I tell you, Lennox?
Go ahead.
Mr. Nobody, this morning, that's my boy, you know, what my boy, you know. Used to call my program, my believe in it.
Right.
What is his agenda? When Kamala came into power, the first thing she said, she put constitutional reform on the table.
Right.
And everybody will check that. Mulhaj and a couple of them, right?
Right.
It's not that she didn't try. Nobody didn't want it. So when he talking about Kamala should switch constitutional reform, It's a crazy man out. Kamala had them on the back foot. You could imagine Kamala going round the world balling with one constitutional reform.
No, that, now is not the time for that. If the circumstance and the nation would have been gravitating to that as an argument for the change that is required, fine. But that is the job of when they get into office.
That's right.
But the argument now is the despicable, horrendous, brutal, macabre, total and absolute mismanagement and corruption that has characterized and has imbued the Rowley PNM administration, and now of course stroke Young.
Well, I talked this morning, and I said, Pandey gone, he dead and gone, and he fight for constitutional reform right through.
Yes.
Right? It didn't happen. That thing happens, you know, Lennox.
Of course not. But if you have to get it, it will be under the UNC.
Under the UNC.
Yeah, because
right?
Rowley has made it clear, Eric Williams, and of course he was reading from the book of Eric Williams, that PR, proportional representation, is a dagger to the PNM. Now we know what he meant by that. He meant that winner take all, and they mean it literally, that they want to be able to manipulate the system, engage, of course, in corrupt acts, put, of course, their people in strategic locations to stay in office, and we can go on and on in terms of all of the ingredients, all of the formula for the destruction of a country, because a country cannot be sustained by a party believing with 1.5 million people, and of course another mass party that has a little more than they in terms of membership, and believe that them alone have all of the solutions and all of the human capacity to manage the multiple aspects of government and governance, and they are honky-dory. They believe it's honky-dory, and they are comfortable with that. That is an asinine disposition, and you are seeing the PNM imploding, exploding, and of course disintegrating as we speak because of that philosophy. That is archaic and hackneyed. But go ahead.
But this is what I want you to tell Mr. Nobody when he called back.
I have told him that already in so many things.
With the agenda.
Yeah, because you see, it is good in theory, but in practice, in terms of the acceptance and in terms of the operational, you see, because look, we have checks and balances right now in our system, but we have seen, of course, the manipulation thereof, and it was even more poignant, more conspicuous under Rowley. It means, therefore, that was always there, available to Chambers, available to Robinson, available to Pandey, available to Kamala Persad-Bissessar as prime ministers of the past, but they had some moral and ethical quality about them that they did not, of course, use it. But Rowley seemed to be using that for using its sake, because it simply exists. And some of the things that he has done, you can't explain it. You want to know why would he tell you that he's not pursuing property tax and then pursue it? You want to know, well, what kind of moral and ethical standard is that? You're not pursuing.
You mentioned that, you know.
Yeah, the man's a criminal.
As you mentioned that property tax thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right? No, you know it's a gambling man.
Yes.
So I keep insisting,
Yes.
I find Kamala should call them out and say, I want to see how much signatures all they already have. She have nothing to lose. They can't say they ain't showing she. That has no non-disclosure.
Well, I will go better than that. A person like myself will ask faith. I mean, whether they give us roundabout talk, because let's face it, Mulal asks for in the parliament question time. That's a privilege. They're representing people, the 41 of them inside of there, representing us through, of course, what is called representative government. And he asks for the itinerary of Stuart Young and who he met and so on, where he believes that he will not be called out, he gave them that piece of information. And of course, a period, he gave them how much money was paid. And of course, he never say who he met, when he met them, and for what. Notice that.
He can't talk that.
Well, this is what I'm saying. So the point I am making here is that it's dependent on the moral and ethical and probably religious stance of an individual. First and foremost, they wouldn't do wrong. But if they do, they're expected, of course, to speak the truth and avoid, of course, the obfuscations and the meandering and the recriminations and the aggression is the best form of defense. We have seen that too often. It is so regular with this government that it is annoying. It is sickening to see that people big men could act that way. Why? Because they never had intention of managing the affairs of the country in the interest of the people, but clearly it would have been about themselves first and foremost, and whatever fall off the table, the scrums, the regular Joe in the population will now benefit, when in fact it wasn't supposed to be like that.
Well, that's clear to all and sundry. Look at these days of the country.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The majority of us are left, of course, in fallow, in limbo. The middle class has been decimated. Middle class size and, of course, its voluptuousness, meaning that its response to the society and its contribution is always appreciated. But he has decimated that middle class so that a person can even from the lower class end up in the middle class, far less for the middle class these days to end up in the upper class. I mean, it is shambolic, it is chaotic, it is madness. Go ahead.
I telling you, I would have called them out.
I hear you. But I mean, I'm sure that what the media, the old people say, impasse you. So I suppose that is still on the cards, yes. Because we have some days yet up to September at minimum now, because that is the time when they will have their internal elections. So it appears that is going beyond the constitutionally required time to call an election and to, of course, manage the operations of the country.
If she call them out and she gets them lying,
yeah,
like the end of them.
No. Somebody.
I'm talking about the property tax.
Yeah. But the point is, end of them. No, that doesn't mean the end of them. The end of them is when the people. No. It wouldn't end. Because they will find an excuse to justify. So the people must put an end to this by their votes. PNM must be decimated. Yeah, it must be, of course, become extinct and relegated to the dustbin of political history. Those who are sensitive, or put another way, insensitive, or who, of course, don't want to hear the truth, well, I tell all your tale. Yes, my friend. Okay. Yeah. Yes, man. Yeah. Yes, indeed. And let me tell you this, that quite apart from the dissembling or self-serving nature of Rowley, his narcissistic tendencies, self-serving, and of course, believe that he knows everything, he omniscient. We cannot escape the fact that they are criminals in high places. Somebody mentioned that. They are criminals in high places. The Bible talks about, of course, spiritual wickedness in high places. Well, these fellas walk, not just talk the talk, but they walk the talk, as we have seen over the last 10 years. But let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Pleasant good night. Good night, Sir Lennox.
Good night to you, my friend.
Good night. It's looking like you're back broad tonight. So I ain't gonna put too much weight on it.
All right.
So here what? I have a little question. I have two or three questions, so much. And I will listen up here, right?
Yes.
So the first one will concerning the election itself.
Mm-hmm.
Will will the new or it's short young, right? So because he will be calling the date.
Yes.
So is he will be locking down somewhere down the line, locking down, closing off the borders, meaning that no flights to come in for citizens to come back to vote, to lose some of those votes that who coming to vote for the UNC. So that is one, right? Yes. The second one is to do with the highways and different highways. Now this is a solution, yeah?
Yeah, go ahead.
Now on the highways, yes. and vice versa, maybe on some of the main roads. On the highways, we just have from point A to point B, right? So now some people usually drive without they knowing how they're driving. Meaning they will be on the X right down to floor. They will be going like more than 100 or 200 miles an hour. They get a ticket off the road or they get an accident off the road.
Right.
So my suggestion is, and they have them, is that what we could do to help curb that a little bit is to put signs, not really signs, but digital signs that monitors your speed limit. You don't have to use no current. It's using the solar energy, and it's showing you every car that's coming up or transport or whatever it is, how much miles you're going at per hour, kilometers, and you will be able to see it ahead as you're driving underneath, while it's passing. It'll be in front of you, you could see that. So it gets, you make your drivers be more aware when traveling on these roads. You could at least have a second eye watching what speed limit you're going at. You might be watching the gauge, you might be watching in front of you. So at least it kind of slow down. And the next thing too, the final thing, on the east-west corridor, now, let's say by Carib coming up there, they have a thing like 2 o'clock in the evening, you're going up, and 2 o'clock you're coming down, and all kind of willy stuff. Put that traffic light there and put red and green. So if you know you're coming down and you see red, you're not supposed to be on that lane. Because, sometimes some people decide to come up when they're not supposed to be coming up because they can't remember. Or even somebody from south coming down in that thing might be confused and end up on the wrong side.
You're talking, I don't know if we are the same page, so let me just say, are you talking about the road that was divided into 3 lanes rather than 4 lanes or 2 lanes, and therefore the middle one you don't know because it is marked? You don't know if to go into it or not. The possibility exists that one may be going north, one may be going west, and next one going east. And
Yes. So what I'm trying to say is just an advanced thing.
Concerned about that. I don't know who designed that.
Because I just say what time you have to be on a certain time you have to be on that. It's not to say you're going. It's by time. So if your clock decides to slow down, and your clock saying 1 o'clock and it's actually 3 o'clock and all kind of thing, and you decide to say go no by, but before you know it, it's a head on.
Yes,
but
that's
so I guess
exactly.
using that,
is it so now, or is it that it depends on if it is clear, and if you're going east, you just go on it, or at the same thing, if you're going west and it is clear, you just go on it? Is what you know it to be, because I've always been puzzled about why you have 3 lanes.
No, it's let's say I believe it's based on the time of the traffic. So if it's like in the morning time coming down,
I see.
You will have that more flows.
To go west. All right, to come into town.
And then and if you're going up, I think you're going up
in the evening. Oh, I see.
Here's the conjunction.
Go ahead.
At 2 o'clock, they simultaneously change lanes. So in other words, then if 2 o'clock you have to be on one side. So I guess saying, supposing you're on 2 o'clock at both at the same time, who's right and who's wrong?
Exactly.
With a head on.
Exactly.
Right. So what I'm suggesting is that they put a traffic light overhead and just have lights either green or red, and that's it.
Indicating this is time for you going west to, of course, utilize that lane, or going east depending on the time again, utilizing that lane. The traffic light will
Right.
Beautiful. Well done. Well done.
And that's for people that people coming from south for the first time going down to Port of Spain to do business or whatever. At least if they're on that main road there by Caribbean, at least they will know.
I have no difficulty. Prior to now, your other suggestions, of course, I try to tweak, but I don't think there's any tweaking on this occasion. The last two ones, at least. Was the one just before that again? Because I thought that was a fantastic one as well. So you have the one with the 3-lane, the solution to that. What's the other one before? Let me just make a comment there.
Yeah, that one was actually the one with closing the borders and having them close the borders for citizens and residents not to come back and vote.
The one after that then. The one after that. You said 3, so there was one in between there.
Oh yeah, and the other one. Well, we know now. This is the one that I wanted to pay more attention. No, we know there's a lot of distraction in this election coming up. We know that for a fact. No matter how we look at it, it's coming. Okay. And one of the main distractions, I think, is starting to pull us aside and have us. I mean, we have to talk about it because it's very important. Is that Gigi now is he's going with the PNM, right? So whatever votes he get, he's gonna add to them if they're falling short. That's a fact. It's alleged, but I guess it is going to be taking place, right? So I want to know in your own world, was this possible? Or if not, then there's nothing to worry about.
In an election, if 10 persons voted for him, he cannot take that 10 and add it to the PNM to give them the overall majority. If the UNC had the majority compared to both his party and that of the PNM. No, it doesn't work like that. It is called first past the post. First past the post means that if you have 3 contenders in, let's say the electorate is 100, well, if one party got 40 votes and the other 2 parties between them got the remaining 60, well, you win with the 40 because it's first past the post.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, then there's nothing to. No,
there's nothing
again,
to be
it's
about except if
that's
those
a coalition.
That he pulls, people might have wanted to vote for the UNC, and in that way, of course, he allowed the PNM to come through. But of course, I think, as far as I am concerned, that is now an impossibility. People know that they have to vote for the UNC. They have no choice, and therefore, I expect that is what is going to happen. So the PNM
right.
He did, and of course, the UNC must triumph.
Well, that's right. That's as clear as day. I understand exactly what it is. But again, so this is my final thing. Miss Santa Cruz, good night. Miss Arima, Miss Central, good night. And don't forget, Lennox, we need to know how you're calling this Prime Minister. I need my Kobo Sapien. I need my, I need my bedtime. All right, so have a pleasant day.
Mephistophelian, I mentioned
yes.
Here. Mephistophelian.
All right.
Yeah, you have a tendency to conjure up and manufacture evil thoughts and actions. All right, my friend.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Yes, indeed, people. So the point I am making is that here it is that Dr. Rowley has metamorphosized. He gave us the impression that he was a corruption buster under money, and now he has turned out in reality as Prime Minister to be a corruption promoter. Let's not waste time with that. And of course, there are multiple examples to demonstrate that. And we have been, of course, regurgitating and like a recurring decimal so that people become conscious and make the comparison. Your common sense will tell you, because of course, to know something is wrong, you must have a sense of what is right. And clearly, it is very simple, but not like Rowley. Rowley, of course, tells us, well, listen, the police lock up themselves and take off the lights in stations because they afraid the bandits. That's a clear statement. How could you now come and say that people misunderstood you? Let me repeat. Rowley said that the police lock up themselves in the stations and take off the lights because they are afraid of the bandits, the criminal elements. What is that to be confused about? What is that to misinterpret? But he comes and say that, of course, they misunderstood him. How they misunderstand you? That's a clear statement. And mind you, it is not the first time. So I want to show you the habitual nature, or in, of course, forensic and in criminology, and of course in police language, it is called modus operandi. The method of operation. It has been habitual. What came to mind very distinctly is two, but the one that has attracted my attention because of the significance it would have had for the country and its finances. When the governor of the central bank, Jawala Rambaran, when the PNM wanted to orchestrate to get him out, he disclosed, when the population was asking for information, he disclosed all who were getting foreign exchange. Just as how they are doing today, we know all who get in foreign exchange and not earning any, but getting nonetheless. But that is not the point I am making here. The point I am making here is that he, Rowley, said that in order to get rid of the governor, or as part of his narrative to sully and to lambaste and to malign, of course, the governor, because he wasn't, of course, possibly working to their agenda. He said that one day the governor of the central bank came smiling, telling the minister of finance that it had 3 days of money to run the country. You know what I say? You know what I say? A big prime minister, a big man. He said he comes smiling. He comes smiling 3 days. So in other words, you cannot take away the race-baiting nature because the man is an Indian. And you cannot take away that smiling talk and smiling because it had 3 days, when nobody should be smiling because it had 3 days of money. We know what that means. It means, of course, the IMF. It means, of course, the introduction of extreme harsh measures. That's what I mean. But Rowley did that. And then, of course, on the basis of that, among other things, because remember, when he wanted to close down Petrotrin, he target those janitors, those people who clean out the office, and say, look how much money they're making. Knowing full well that the average person is not making that kind of money, doing that kind of work. And it's for obvious reason. That industry sets the gold standard across the globe. In other words, it is considered to be black gold. So therefore, people are going to be highly paid in that particular industry. Rowley knows that. But he used that to get the wider population who may not either one have the opportunity to get that kind of money as a janitor or as an office cleaner, and two, if they will feel disgusted that such a low paying, so put another word, a low job spec, let me put it that way. You don't have to have no degree to clean an office. Getting that kind of money, whilst the majority of the population fetching the ant, nenen, and everything else in order to put food on their respective tables, not being able, of course, to get that kind of money that industry naturally pays. And he knows it. He knows it. Because when he talked about the question of those 3 reports, focusing on what should be done with Petrotrin, 3 reports he got. And when the question of the cost, over $25 million for those 3 reports, he only turned and say that, this is oil, and that therefore nothing is inexpensive in the oil industry. The man knew what he was saying, and the man knew who he was targeting. And it's only the stupidities of them. It's only those who are ill-informed. I say stupid here from the position of ignorance, lack of knowledge. But now that you know, you cannot sustain that position. That is what Rowley did. And it's not for the first time. So when he said about the police ducking and hiding from the bandits, it's deliberate. What he expected to get out of that? 1, the government must not be held accountable for unnecessarily instituting or resorting to a draconian measure. Yes, because you're suspending people's fundamental rights. That's a dangerous and serious thing in any democracy. And giving the police and law enforcement, including, of course, the army, the right to bust in people's home without a warrant, so there are no safeguards. It's strictly free for all. They can do what the hell they want. So he wants to justify that action by making that kind of phantasmagorical statement. Unbelievable. I want to say that people misinterpret what he said. How could that be? Especially when you have a track record of exacerbating, making worse, and exaggerating. Exacerbating, making it worse, and exaggerating, putting in what is not there just for your political, what I consider to be agenda and aggrandizement. Come on, Rowley. He's a big blasted man. We have had enough of that kind of hogwash and misinformation, disinformation, and attempting, of course, to hoodwink and deceive the people. Get the hell out of office now and call the elections in the process. That's what you should be doing. But tell me, given to structure for what? It is an election year, so you cannot say it was last year or year before, and therefore, of course, it would have been justifiable that you get out and, of course, give the reins to somebody else. We can understand that if it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but it is about the twilight and the end, the terminus. The terminus of this administration, or put another way to reference the Constitution, the constitutional time limit for any government. It didn't matter, including, of course, the opposition, because the opposition, when, of course, the time comes, have to also demit office in an electoral, in an election date process. But no, he wants, of course, to rectify P&M business at our expense. Well, I say to him, and then I say to you now, you must vote the tails out, because that kind of disrespect, that kind of audacity, that kind of reckless behavior, that kind of undermining of our not just electoral process, but also our democracy. And it has implication for the rule of law. It has implication for the moral and ethical standards of these fellas and women who we have elected to manage our affairs. And we have seen enough dereliction of duty and responsibility to jettison them out of office. But we are a law-abiding people. So I don't expect, of course, a violent revolution to take place. But we have been there before. Whether you see it in the water riots of 1903, whether you see it in the upheaval of 1970, or indeed, because of its national implication, the 1990 attempted coup. So we have been there. So it's not that we cannot be violent. But by and large, the population understands that that does not a good country subsequent make. Because we have to, of course, literally revive, resuscitate, start all over as a nation, because we have to, of course, deal with other countries to trade. And trade here, I am talking about to get them to come to respect us and to have confidence and to say that's a good place because they have settled down. That will not be a nice thing for Trinidad and Tobago. But it has happened before, and we only seem to be practicing what is called, and has this uncanny ability to stretch the envelope, to stretch people's patience, to antagonize the people, to challenge you, and if to say, well, go and riot now, go and protest now. That is what he's doing. No government, no prime minister does that to his own people. Because he believes he can generate the coercive force and deliver them on the people, beat them into submission. And then challenge them by those, of course, verbal, what I consider to be terrorist talk. Verbal terrorist talk. Now people, let's hear him, of course, when he first started in government and what he would have told the people to win over the government, etc., etc. Let's hear.
Built by the government. Every school, every health center, every this, every road to be built in this country has to be built by the government. Every school, every health center, every this, every that. Because in this country, for the last generation or two, we've grown up under government. Well, you better begin to be weaned off the government. Well, you better begin to be weaned off the government.
That's just how it is. We have subsidized water, subsidized electricity, subsidized education. We have subsidized public transportation. And all of these things we now have to pull back on. All of these things we now have to pull back on.
Madam Speaker, I still have a coal pot, you know, where I put my coals and I roast my breadfruit. So if you don't have that, go back until such time as you can afford the gas. But don't come and blame you not having gas on the government. I have a suggestion for me. In order to lose weight,
let's go to the call. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Welcome again, Lennox. It's me again.
Yes, man.
I mean, I seen something and it really disturbing.
Go ahead.
Seeing all of them deciding to have, you know, looking at it. They're just taking away everything from we. Everything they're taking away from we. And it's ours. You don't need to do that. They don't need to take away stuff. That is ours, right?
That's right.
I mean, we have everything. And subsidizing it. I mean, that's what it's for. It's for the people.
That's right. But
they don't take that.
They see it as their private parlor, their private domain. That is how they operate.
That is for
only
the people.
Them alone
Everybody
must live off the fat of the state, and the them job is to get thin, weak, and then the rest of us must settle for the weak part and contribute to making it fat again by they staying there. I say that is damnation to the hilt. But go ahead, my friend.
Yes. So, but coming back to something, I like to make solutions. Something,
yes.
we into the dry season. Yeah, we into the dry season coming in.
Yes.
And we have records of different parts of the country flooding, including Diego Martin and all these other places up in the east side, up in the south side, all the Trinity area, all over. Yeah. I mean, we see massive flooding taking place now. So one of the suggestions that I think that the technocrats and them and whoever it is, usually for WASA and them, if we get smart people thinking, is that they should be at least thinking about putting catchment basins for these water. Like
ponds, yes.
Little ponds. But if they were smart enough, all this flooded, they should have all those drones flying over and taking pictures and seeing how the water is actually, what is happening. Because we know because they're cleaning the drains and all these things, but sometimes the volume of water coming down, no matter if the drain is clean or not, it may just go over its bank. So, but what I'm saying, if we make catchment areas in certain areas, we could pull the water and divert the water back into WASA's line, if you want to say, yes, back to where it's supposed to go. And we will have water, a steady supply of water. So when rainy season comes, they could come with all the floods they come. At least we're going to get a lot of this water, catch this water. So catchment is one of the things that they should consider, WASA and them should consider for the dry season. And if they have any reports or any area of where they could put it, they should start investing in that. And it probably will help down for the rainy season coming down next year, or later down in the year, I should say. So I think we should follow that, and let's hope. But again, like Cole Pot and all of them, I mean, them have it up. They just want to take away everything from us. They want to take away everything.
They are depraved. They are devoid of rational and common sense like you, and it appears that they don't think. And common sense is not as common as one would have thought in the PNM, because from top to bottom, they seem to be totally devoid of any kind of solution-oriented creativity
to
address
Lennox,
the problems of the country.
I believe I could guarantee at least 99% of this question I'm going to ask you. You have traveled out to Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
You have seen perhaps the worst or the best of another country. And you're telling me these people never travel because we have bad roads and we have no water and we have our light infrastructure is fairly okay. You understand? But you having all these things, our health system is down, our school system is down. We have schools that go in bush all over it. You tell me, you have been seen outside, you went outside, and maybe take a look and peek to see how a different country looks like. And they never went away. I guess they probably remain in Trinidad, right through, and in Tobago, and they're thinking they're going away. Because if they ever went out, they would have seen what first world countries, how they are. So they could have come back and as they would say, duplicate what it is they see. At least they will know that, hey, we could make this place a better place. We could make it nice and clean and whatever it is, fix our roads, get the health system up and running. But no, as you say, they want to take all the money and push it in their pocket. Cole Pot want to tell we don't drive no car, ride a bike. The next one say don't eat no macaroni pie and all them kind of thing. What is that? Come on, I don't believe that. But anyhow, you continue with your program, Mr. Lennox. This is a great program and very educated. Thank you very much.
But I want to confirm to you, even though I hold no brief for them, but to say that these people are well traveled. And the conspicuous or the poignant evidence of that is when there is a problem in Trinidad and Tobago for which they are responsible for solving. They then tell you every part of the globe where that problem is, and therefore the argument for them is that since it cannot be solved in those countries, and they must have either been traveling or they're reading a lot, because I know that, of course, books also cause you to travel. You don't have to go to the United States to know all the states, etc., etc. But if I am to respond to that question, whether they travel or not, they must have traveled to know that what is happening in other countries. We saw it, of course, very regularly when there was COVID. And of course, they gave themselves the #1 in the world and ended up, of course, per capita to be the worst in terms of deaths per 1,000 as far as the COVID is concerned. So they know. And therefore, we are left, if we are to do deductive reasoning, the process of elimination, we are left with, they are so absorbed with their own avarice and their arrogance, and believe somehow that they have a right to be where they are. But it turns out to be one of actions that would normally be considered either immoral, unethical, illegal. And thus, of course, you have to conclude there's a bunch of gangsters, a bunch of criminals that have assembled in order to hoodwink without, of course, the capacity and the commitment, really, to deliver to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, to make us, of course, the Singapore of the West and or the Dubai of the West, whichever. It ought to be. And, of course, there are a lot of information to, of course, justify and to, of course, make clear that conclusion. So, my friend, to answer your question directly, they have traveled. They are simply out of depth, never was ready, have no plans, and because they are so focused on their criminal behavior, trying to stay in government, and they believe that there's no need to work because lyrics, the gift of speech, will carry them through. We saw that, of course, with Rowley, and we see it with all of them. And that is why we in such a, what I consider to be abject need at this point in time, and the deterioration of our circumstance towards, of course, a quality of life and standard of living none of us contemplated was possible in Trinidad and Tobago, particularly in recent times. So let us not for one moment believe that they never traveled. It is a willingness to serve, and to serve sincerely, to serve in the best interest of the people, but they have arrogated unto themselves that we exist to serve them. Yes, that's the irony. We exist to serve. That is the philosophy. It has to be. Because when Laventil, for example, protests, fiery protests, the beaten people block any one of the main thoroughfare entering or leaving Port of Spain, whether it be the Beetham Highway or the Priority Bus Route, or indeed the Eastern Main Road. And these people, the parliamentary representatives themselves, and of course I think the most glaring example of that is when Hines was chased out of the Beetham under some heavy dirty water. The first time I see a man do better than Jesus Christ, by Jesus Christ, walk on water, roll, Heinz run on water out of the bottom. And they will go back and say, when people say, well, all right, the people fed up on the PNM, they will say, watch and see, in a most cynical and a most, what I consider to be sarcastic way. Watch and see. Because they believe that these people exist to serve them, and therefore when Balize House voice a candidate on them, the people go out there and vote for the PNM candidate. Now notice I said the PNM candidate. Because, let's face it, if Rowley, Heinz, Imbert, Donna Cox, all of them go and form their own party outside of the PNM, as we have seen with people like Mariano Brown and of course Jennifer Batiste and all of them, and Ralph Maraj and Dr. Selwyn Kojo, all of them are being castigated and maligned by the PNM, even though they were there at one point in time and was well embraced and well entrenched and ensconced. But if these fellas come out of the PNM and form their own party, nobody fought on them. So it means, therefore, there is a psychological attachment, but that has developed or would have developed over many years. Some call it brainwashing. Some call it, of course, traditional. Some call it culture. Mami voted for the PNM. The succeeding generation voted. The succeeding one is told, well, you have to vote there. Everybody accustomed voting PNM. Without consideration, as programs like these are now, of course, insisting that you think and that you have now the material, so there is no need to operate in isolation, divorce of the reality that the PNM and its leadership are poison, they are toxic, they are irrelevant, they cannot respond, of course, to your needs, even though you are part and parcel, and of course witnessing the unrelenting crime, criminality, housebreaking, of course, home invasions, murders, etc. You cannot say now that you don't know. Because you see, part of the strategy of the PNM to keep that illusion going and to sustain the so-called vote bank that is Laventille and communities like these and constituencies like these, is to keep information like this from you, from the population. But with social media, I could stay here until tomorrow morning and talk and, of course, give a different story all entirely that you can identify with, as opposed to traditional media, which they dominated and believed that it would have been around for all times, so they could continue, of course, to project the illusion that they are superior, that they are superlative anytime you are associated with the PNM. Notice they make themselves, they tell themselves they are superior, but listen to what you are concerned with. How a big man could talk about in 21st century Trinidad and Tobago ride bike and coal pot? You had to be an ass. But you are able to speak about it here on a program like this. Why? Because social media has been able to democratize and to do or to accelerate and at the same time manifest that critical part of democracy, which of course we are proud to be part of, and that is to provide valid, irrefutable information so that you could make the right judgment as to who should lead you or who should manage your affairs. That is where we are. And that is what the PNM has not calculated. And that is why Rowley will attack the ground report. They'll attack, of course, the corridor transformation. You heard I think the second caller tonight. But if it was left up to TV6 and the CNC3 and TTT and, of course, the traditional radio stations, you wouldn't know what we are talking about here. You wouldn't get an appreciation as to the facts, and we present it to you. Because they would not listen, or put another way, these stations will not air what we are airing now. Yes, indeed.
I will take a bike. That will save fuel. That's my solution.
Yeah.
We may have to call our homes and our families together around a table and say, you know what? We can no longer afford to go to the movies twice a week or 3 times a week. We may not be able to bake ham every month or make macaroni pie. We may have to cut back because we may have to reapportion some of the scarce resources to other important things. And sometimes our children may scream at us and they might throw themselves into tantrum. And they may even throw shoes at us and break glasses. But that child, that young boy and that young girl must have no doubt in their minds that the decisions of their parents is for their greater good.
Every road to be built in this country has to be built by the government. Every school, every health center, every this, every that. Because in this country, for the last generation or two, we've grown up on the government. Well, you better begin to be weaned off the government because the government's shoulder cannot carry the burden anymore. Well, you better begin to be weaned off the government. Well, you better begin to be weaned off the government.
That's just how it is. We have subsidized water, subsidized electricity, subsidized education. We have subsidized public transportation. And all of these things we now have to pull back on. All of these things we now have to pull back on.
The $2.5 billion that we spend subsidizing water rate.
Let me just, of course, take this call. Very interesting indeed. A pleasant good night or welcome to the corridor.
Yes, hello again. Good night, Mr. Lennox.
Good night to you.
Earlier o'clock, before people start to see the light with this wicked government,
yes,
I say revolution. You hear what I say?
I hear you, my friend.
I say revolution.
I hear you.
In those years.
Hold on.
I get
have
bashed.
Mr. Rima on the line, so just hold on.
Yeah, no problem.
Yes. I get bashed. Right? I say I get bashed on the ground report. Then after, it had few people will say it. I will call name Malcolm X. Right?
Yes.
And then when the lady, the leader of the UNC say it, everybody follow and they talking revolution. I want to know what's wrong when a citizen like me say that in them timing. I want people to know we have to stand up for our democracy. We don't have no democracy. We don't have freedom. I say something, we should go with one voice. Thousands of us, one voice, and make that call. We can't be talking stupidness and be coward and afraid and taking this at a bull every time. When people say something like that, making sense like Mr. Kenrick Pazard, listening to him and he coming and he informing about certain things. We're not supposed to say, yeah, and so. No. We fighting here. We want to avoid the dreadness. Look at how much dread things happening. Look, we going and get this young Chinese man who I know how dread he is. I just see all the business I telling all of that, and I know what coming. I predict all kind of thing, and these stupid set of people on the chat talking a lot of rubbish still. Something wrong with all you. All they does be talking about Rowdy do man in Obia, when he do all the Obia to be so stupid. He really say the people of Trinidad and Tobago stupid, but mostly the people on this chat, they're real stupid. They're foolish. They don't have no sense. All they know to do is talk shit. They can't even call in and make a good contribution. If a man could come and say this kind of thing about the police, whether it's true or not, well, let me say it's true. We don't have no security inside of here. One ministry supposed to be responsible for the citizens, mostly is I would say is security. And it's fail. So if we reach that kind of position where there's no kind of security inside of here, what gonna happen for the borders? It done open already. All you know what is this man doing? All you know what is going on in the region? This kind of talk we talking about, we politics is geopolitics now, you know. Is blows coming with this Marco Rubio and Trump, you know. Is blows, you know. So we supposed to stand up like the citizens of this country and don't let the government put the voice for we. Right? Don't let them put no voice. Them are going against that dictator next door. We lost the election. We thief the election. We supposed to stand up and denounce that kind of shit we're going on. Because it will be blows for we if we don't open him out, you know. Serious blows, you know. Right? And as I say, is who dead, and who live. And who make jail this wrongs. We had to stand up strong and stand up for we democracy. No democracy, no freedom.
Thank you very
Good
much.
night.
Yes, sir, yes, ma'am. But of course, that is Miss Arima. You'll forgive her choice, some of the choice of words that you would use. But clearly, of course, she is emotional. She is, of course, a serious person from what I know, and therefore, of course, I don't expect anybody to be offended when, of course, she will use terminologies that refer to persons on the chat and so on, when in fact you know that you know. But this is democracy. Why she may have a different view of what she would have said, or you may not agree with her. But of course, we have a right to defend to the hilt her right to speak, and I think this is what this program is all about: the corridor transformation. Let's go to the next line. Go ahead, caller. Say where you're calling from.
Calling from Rio Claro.
Rio Claro, of course, is on the line. Pleasant good night to you. Welcome.
Good night, good out to you, Lennox. Long time no call. Blessings going out to corridor transformation, of course.
Yes.
Ground report, Andy, Mikey, and everything. So, you know what, Mr. Rima's on point. First of all, like, I mean, from the minute PNM coming to power, what about them kids with them guns?
Yes.
You know, Minister Puya, as Anna Roberts put it.
Yes.
Right? Well, I'm saying, next thing you know, Gary Griffith niece. I mean, niece, right? Or cousin.
Yeah.
Right?
He said it's her niece. It's his niece, yes. Yeah.
Right? Like, people in Trinidad and Tobago are really sleeping and they're really dotish. I feel they like being dotish, to tell you the truth. Right? Because, I mean, just take a drive. Come down to Rio Claro Road and that Naparima Mara Road. I mean, it's evident. You're looking around. You're seeing what's going on. You go to the groceries. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, during COVID, borders open like that, man.
Wow.
Right? Venny and Venny friend and Venny family and everybody coming through there.
Yes.
You know? With Donald Trump, like what Ms. Arima was saying, like how you win that election and everything. On a real, people really need to understand, Trump hates Maduro, right? Elon Musk hates Maduro. And guess what? Right? They hate their friends too. Right? And they are coming. Like, they're being quiet right now and everything like that. I mean, January 28th is like right over there.
Yeah. This is just the calm before the storm. The calm before the storm is now. Yes.
And Trinidad has such an embarrassment right now. Don't feel that people in the States, Canada, Europe, wherever else, they know what's going on.
Yes.
Right? So, like, Rowley's basically given our country to, like, the 1%. You know, I'm pretty much almost there.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm in business and I see, I have business partners and everything like that, and you can totally see a decline in business, a lot of doors being shut and everything like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So this election is going to be really interesting, and people need to know, man. Like they really need to come out in the numbers. You know what I mean? And stop this race politics, because it is total BS with that. It's like Eric Williams.
It's suicidal. It's
literally
suicidal. Yeah.
Right? And people, like, there's only them almost 100 years old people and things like that tying up the grandchildren and all kind of thing, you know.
That's right. Yeah, the generational tradition or culture. No, we have to stop that and generate the paradigm shift that is required, rather than this paradigm paralysis. That
Mr. Lennox, I tell you, if you come down like in the country area and you see all Africans and Indians and Chinese and everybody does live, right? Love, right through. You know what I mean? Whether it's Christmas, Diwali, Carnival, whatever, everybody, as they say, balancing together.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I'm telling you, every time I go up down north side and everything, you can see tension, you can see a kind of like a chef. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
fragmentation,
like the way how I just gotta say this one thing, because I know you got lots of calls and everything that coming through. I just gotta say one thing about this one.
I have Mr. Rio Claro on the line. Go ahead, Mr. Rio.
Yeah. So I just have this one thing to say about this whole Gary Griffith thing, right? Like from the minute he came out there about family, this and that, with that Christina drug dealing cousin of his.
Yes.
That was it for me, man. Like I'm telling you, it's just like, yep, you just
like
one, because if you look
his integrity and his public image. Yeah, it has taken a beating.
If you look at it, he kind of back in PNM by.
Yeah. In addition to that, because he was asked a direct question.
So anyhow, have a blessed night, my brother. Excellent job as always, man. I lock on every single night, every day, going to report and everything like that. I mean, you know what I mean? Very informative program. I just want to say, people, keep it coming, man. State what's on your mind, right? Don't be afraid. You see that afraid thing, that afraid politics and that race thing, like, nah, that don't have to be over.
That's
right. Because we're 2025, like, come on, man.
That's right. And of course, people must know that it is politics that determine the quality of air you breathe, the kind of clothes you wear, the kind of house you build, the kind of road. I mean, everything is politics. Yeah.
The amount of money Trinidad have right now, brother, man.
Yes,
people think like we broke. We not broke. It's just like in and them fools and them.
Mismanagement.
Mismanagement, teething it, and they boldly teething it in front of people's face. For example, 3 point whatever billion.
It's like throwing pearls to swine.
Right, and them doing this to we and laughing at we, boy, brother, and nobody have gone down for the Spain yet.
Yeah.
But anyhow, have a blessed night.
Same to you, my friend.
By the way, Rowley is a pedophile, right? And a rapist.
Beautiful man. You say it for me, man. I ain't said for the night yet, but it's good to know that people have locked on. And of course,
yeah. So you mean, man, from the minute this program on, I did.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes. That blasted pedophile and rapist saying he going on and people must remember him, yes, for the evil that he would have done, including being a pedophile and a rapist. Yes, thank you.
All over the place.
Yeah. All right. Yes, indeed. Of course. Let's go to the line. Pleasant good night. Welcome. Just say where you're from, so we'll be able to make a distinction in case somebody has called.
Pleasant good night. Calling from Mova.
Mova, right. Okay. Mova is on the line. Go ahead, Mova.
I believe that patriotics bid needs to be validated, right? The Socioeconomic cannot just come in Parliament and make a statement and crash a lot of dreams and things and aspirations in Trinidad and Tobago where that bid is concerned. That is unacceptable, right? And then he said that he would have come out and make this statement outside of Parliament. How come he didn't do it up to now? So which means that he not giving them a chance to defend themselves. And I find that we shouldn't be allowing. We shouldn't. If the deadline is in this month, right? Patriotic bid needs to be validated. It needs to be validated with due diligence and transparency, right? Because they won't put in a bid to fail. And I mean, it's 3 times that they bid, and it's millions of dollars that they pay for that bid. So you want to look at Patriotic as a reference point, right? The union has been doing good stewardship with the money, with their monies and so on, to make a bid 3 times. So there has been, if you want to, as a reference point, there has been good stewards of the finances and stuff like that, right? And they are the only, they say that once the company stabilize, that Trinidad and Tobago will be able to buy shares and become owners of the refinery, not big business. Right? No other bidder has that in place. No other bidder thinking of allowing citizens of Trinidad and Tobago to come with a business and do stuff and things, right? And I find that the bid should be validated by the cabinet appointed committee. They should revalidate the bid. Concerning the fake documents, as Stuart Young tried to push on that, right?
Yes.
Patriotic said that there was an investor that they are scrutinized and all that. They did Patriotic and they find the investor that wasn't good enough. Patriotic said that, but they didn't send that investor documents to the Scotiabank or neither to the cabinet appointed committee. They had an investor who they had confidence in, and they sent that the information about that investor to the cabinet appointed committee and also Scotiabank, and Scotiabank had no problems with that. They had no problems. So how come Stuart Young could come and talk about something that they never sent up? You understand? So I mean, we can't sit by and just if we had to find a way to let the committee know that Trinidadians, we want due diligence, we want Patriotic bids to be validated. We want that, right? They need to know that. And thank you, Lennox.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So, Deputy Speaker, I'm authorized to make this statement. Request for proposals for the sale of the Pointe-à-Pierre refinery. So, Deputy Speaker, Trinidad and Tobago's largest crude oil producer, operating the country's only petroleum refinery, ceased refinery operations on November the 30th, 2018. The refinery was plagued by high and increasing debt, low productivity levels, escalating manpower costs, and an expenditure pattern of habitually surpassing its earnings and income. The refinery lost billions of dollars every year. Following the closure of the company, Cabinet agreed to the establishment of a new state enterprise, Trinidad Petroleum Holdings Limited, TPHL. TPHL was vested with the responsibility to manage the former Petrotrin's oil and related assets,
let's go to the line. I tried to get, of course, the announcement made then by, of course, the Minister of Finance about, of course, Patriotic being extremely suitable, and, of course, a lot of braggadocio and boasting that, of course, nobody else could do that for the black man, give them a oil refinery to run. And, of course, Imbert was, of course, self-glowing and self-gracing. But today, the same Patriotic is now, of course, persona non grata, because as far as Stuart Young is concerned, whether it's concocted or not, the fact is that they have made a decision not to have Patriotic be part and parcel of the process. And I think in next 2 weeks' time, I'm sure that Stuart Young will get the opportunity to announce who would be the company that would have gotten the oil refinery, when, of course, Rowley in his initial statement said that it's neither there nor here, and therefore if Patriotic want it, if all WTU want it, let them take it. Well, they organized themselves to taking it, and Rowley, of course, effectively have told them not at all, even though, of course, they did everything to suggest, and, of course, the Patriotic and the Oilfield Workers Trade Union had every reason to believe that they would have gotten it, only, of course, to be subjected to the shenanigans and the evil of the PNM. And let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night to welcome Miss Anna Cruz.
Good night, Lennox. Good night to you and to everybody out there.
Yes.
Lennox, well, I don't know if you listened to the program tonight, the Pavement Report.
No.
But it was really good.
Okay.
I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to listen to it, especially Wayne Sturge.
I
Wayne
will
Sturge
be
with Gary.
after the program tonight. I will be. Rest
Yeah.
assured we'll get something on it on Saturday. But go ahead.
Yeah. He put Gary Griffith in a corner. Because Gary Griffith is saying now that his UNC lawyers just get off all the criminals on them. Because, everybody attacking his family.
Yeah,
right?
yes.
That they just get off all the criminals on them now. He's saying since 2018, he's telling people Christina is his family. He's lying. Gary Griffith is lying. He never told us. Now we are hearing about it. And because that is your family, or attack you but don't attack her, who the hell is you? Who the hell is you? Did you commit the crime with Christina? What about all the people that were, the 3 black people that were held with her? Where are they? Were they privileged enough to abscond the country as well? But you see what is good for them, not good for anybody else. So Wayne Sturge put him in his place tonight.
Beautiful.
He gave him a good piece of his mind. Yeah, it's about time. You understand? And he come talking. Well, I think today he got it from everybody who could have given it to him. Even Senator Naked made a video giving him a good piece too. But Lennox, I listened to Dr. Munilal's contribution on Mikey's program.
Uh-huh.
Some things that he revealed, it was mind-boggling.
Okay.
That the amount of times that Stuart Young traveled to Venezuela, the amount of money, $1.something million, Lennox,
Yeah,
that he spent.
I have a copy of it.
For like
I
over,
saw it, yes. So
yeah, for overnight travel, yes. Right? For just overnight travel,
yeah,
Lennox.
$40-something thousand and so on and so forth. And,
yes.
And with an interpreter, in that case, I love to make a mockery of him because I remember him outside the Oval with the bullhorn, speaking in English and telling people who could only understand Spanish, stand up in the line. Don't, of course, be unruly. Otherwise, we will suspend the registration and so on and so on. I say, look at that buffoon and nincompoop. I mean, the man is a total asinine specimen of not just dotishness, but inhumanity. But go ahead.
Yes, Lennox, I was shocked when I read it. The amount of times he went, the amount of money that was spent, and he refused to answer. And according to Dr. Munilal, up to now, he has not given them the answer they're looking for, Who went with him? Did an interpreter go with him?
No, they have
and
that.
all this kind of thing.
What he did not say is who he met. That's the important thing.
Yeah, who he met with.
Yeah, in our own in our own Freedom of Information request, when Stuart Young sent us and I a pre-action protocol letter about Delcy Rodriguez and calling he and Rowley racketeers and persons who associate with drug lords, etc. Well, when I sent, because I was responsible for that, so when I sent. Imagine the Prime Minister's office is saying that they don't know the delegation, they don't know the greeting party, they don't know the welcoming party at the airport, they don't know the welcoming party at the Prime Minister's office and or diplomatic center. I mean, it is just an embarrassing situation.
It's all
for
a
them,
set of lies,
for them, because I mean, no big people could countenance at that level of what I consider to be. I mean, dotishness that is so evident.
And it actually have PNMs. It actually have PNMs who would believe that. Lennox, I had a friend working in the Whitehall with Manning and working in Whitehall. At the time it was Manning, right? And when she heard that, she said that's a lie. Anybody who's coming to visit the Prime Minister, you have to give a list of all the names.
But the common sense will
and
tell you
that is trying.
Yes, issue.
You have visited the Prime Minister's office.
Security alone.
Yes.
I visit the Prime Minister's office on several occasions, and that is how it is. You have to be scanned. You have to put on your name in a book. You have to, of course, say where you're from, and of course, that invitation could have only come from an arrangement made long before you actually visited the Prime Minister's office. How the hell they could just say that they didn't know?
Lennox,
so we know.
And any phone calls coming out of the Prime Minister's office, they are recorded. Because my phone number was on one of those lists, because it was just around the time when my husband had died, and she would call me.
Right.
She would call me to find out how I was doing, and my number was there. My number was there, and she told me, she said, anytime I call, don't talk about politics or anything, because the phones are tapped. You understand?
Right.
And you come to tell us that you didn't know who was coming.
And give us
And you
in
didn't have
a
no
freedom of
sanction
information response. I mean, there's a breach. There's a breach of the
Yes.
act. That is criminal. There is a sanction for that. But we meet them and pass them.
But it's
yeah.
Exactly, Lennox.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Lennox, our next contributor to Maggie's program was Prakash Ramadan.
Okay.
I was very, very impressed with Prakash's interview.
Okay.
And what he is saying, if the last 9 years of failure, and if we want another 5 years of failure again, we look for that. He spoke, when I tell you, he brought out a lot of things, Lennox. And one of the things that he said, and I admire him for it, is that he talked about the procurement. He said the partnership government put anti-corruption plans in place with the procurement legislature, and he said that the PNM butchered it. The PNM butchered it. And he said one of the things that they were sorry that they did not do is when accusations came up, they didn't deal with it right away, and it was left to fester.
Yeah.
He really, really talked good, Lennox, and I admired him for that. You understand? And I really wish that he could have joined with Mrs. Pasadbi Sesta in the coalition, because according to him, right, we need to clean up this country. He really talked good. We need to clean up this country because it's too much of crime and a lot of nonsense, too much of corruption, because who don't want to believe that there's corruption going on with that procurement bill? I'm sorry for them. Because they butchered it, Lennox.
Of course.
We saw how they butchered it.
Section
the
7,
amount of things that they took out. Yes, right, out of it to pass it. Even look what they tried to pass it for CARICOM. They tried to pass it for CARICOM, and the opposition exposed it. They exposed it. But Lennox, let me tell you something, eh? Gary getting it left, right, and center. Gary must be sorry now he opened his mouth.
Well, yeah, his political career has come to a screeching
end.
A screeching
yes.
end.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Have no turning back now with Gary because he made a fool of himself. Because you cannot tell me that you are contesting you can't tell me that you are contesting an election and yet still you are congratulating Stuart Young and wishing him all the best. What kind of nonsense is that? You're looking for something from Gary? I'm sorry, from this army man. And Lennox, I just want to say before I leave, you heard how respectful my contribution was.
Yes.
And always is.
Yes.
Take care, Lennox, and you have a good night.
Same to you, my dear. All right. That was, of course, Ms. Santa Cruz, of course, I like to say our external correspondent. Don't forget, we have no program tomorrow night. I know that you are going to miss and like me, but of course, I had to get a little rest and some recreation too. Pleasant good night. Welcome. Just say where you're calling from.
My brother, blessed night.
Where you calling from?
I'm calling from Arima.
Arima, okay. Go ahead, Arima.
I'm not going to say
I had to say Arima male now, because of course we have a Arima female. I love
Mr. Arima. He's a supporter. But I'm saying to you,
yes.
Gary Griffith, this guy, he should be locked up. He should be charged because in my book, it comes like he was aiding and abetting with his family, in the crime that he committed.
Yes.
Right? So he should be locked up, right? And used as an example. Because if all the time, this was going on, and you just come on as a man in position, allow this, there's a favoritism, right? So he come like he was aiding and abetting, so he should be locked up.
Yeah, that to me is bordering on a case of the perversion of the course of criminal justice.
Right, because
yeah.
I
And
was
he
told
questioned, what Rowley should be locked up for. Well, at least minimum, the wasting of police time. I am seeing that because it did deploy the resources of the police, because remember, several of the ministers then deposited their devices, their communication devices with the police. So therefore, and that could only happen if an investigation would have been initiated. So wasting time, in spite of the situation with respect to the deputy DPP announcement that of course the thing is inconclusive and all that, to give Rowley some kind of lifeline to say that it is inconclusive and therefore he could be right. He loves these kind of ambiguity. Go ahead.
I just wanted to before I depart.
Go ahead.
Ms. Arima, she for the longest while she been saying certain things on the ground report and they had really condemn her. All right, but I want to support it tonight, and I want to tell Trinidad and Tobago we have to open our eyes. We have to really get our act together, because let me tell you something. Couple spoke with partner. If we don't really stand up towards this system, this government, we in trouble, my brother.
Yeah. Definitely.
So I am very grateful that Mr. Trump is calling on the ground report and give us some encouragement. Let us know, hey, there's still hope. Don't let us vampire government make we feel like, hey, all is lost.
That's right.
Things will turn around. We at Trinidad and Tobago only have this set up our part.
Good.
And they put our finger and get rid of this vampire government. My brother, you all have a good night.
Same to you. All right. People, of course, we started on time, and I'm seeing it's 25 minutes past 10 o'clock. I think we too have come to a screeching end. I didn't realize it was so late. I'm enjoying the program, just as you are. But of course, all good things come to an end, as indeed bad things like Rowley and his government. I was looking, of course, for the announcement made by Imbert with respect, of course, to selling the oil refinery, or should I say, giving the oil refinery to Patriotic in order for them to, of course, manage back then when, of course, it was in Parliament, but it was nearing an election. So they make that statement to use the African man again, because he said that he Imbert in, and is there any other government could make the black man an entrepreneur and in this case, of course, trade union, a matter of fact, and all of that, and then of course they cry them down, of course, to close to the election, give them the impression that the matter will be expeditiously dealt with, because it's a long, complicated process according to Khan and according to, of course, all the other players, including Rowley. And when, of course, he was able to use the banana and monkey scenario up at their last meeting in Sangre Grande, and the people of, unfortunately, mysteriously, should I say, unexpectedly, Point Fortin Labre voted for the PNM after the man say that, appealing, of course, to the tribe and, of course, and racial, what I can say, be connotations, and they got back in, of course, with a reduced majority, but nonetheless, they got back in with 22 seats now, and prior to that, in 2015, they got 23 seats. I want to say, however, to the credit of the population, the electorate, that they never gave the PNM under Rowley a handsome mandate. That is what he's scared of, and therefore he decides to get out, quite apart from some things that may manifest through the advent of Trump on the 20th. We wait and see. Blue lights and silver bracelets, however, in spite of all of that, it's inevitable when they get out of office after the 2025 and possibly in 2026 elections. But let's go to the line and take this final quarter call. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Yes, take a final call, man.
Yes, go ahead, man.
You have to take my call.
Yes, man.
You know, people talk about people taking Trinidad, and let me tell you something. You know the Trinity is in Lennox?
Uh-huh.
When you reach Palo Seco Junction, They have a road going back. The white people used to live in there.
Okay.
Going back to Faizabad.
All right.
I saw the 3 hills, you know. The Trinity Hills, what Columbus Hill and Trinity.
So from afar. All right, yes, out in the sea, yeah.
Yeah, and you see there. I hear people talking about people taking Trinidad. Watch me. And as long as the United States, nobody can touch this country now. Anybody can play my John for Trinidad? I talked that this morning and I'm talking it again.
Go ahead.
This Trinidad. Long as the United States here, nobody can come and say what they own here. They're looking for a good kick-up and thing, eh?
Yes.
I just called to tell everybody, now look at Gary Griffith attacking me in Stewart and saying, Baba, he defend criminals and have them on the road.
Now just imagine that. I mean, he's a former commissioner of police. But people mustn't have rights in spite of the fact that, firstly, there's a system. Other than that, is barbarism. Right? It's chaos. It's shambalism. So he ought not to be making statements like that. And for sure, I don't think he could be another commissioner of police at all, having regard to those kinds of statements. What is he saying? That he must be the investigator. Just now, he must be the investigator, the charger, and the person to execute the court part of it. No, but go ahead.
No, lawyers have to defend people to take a oath to do that.
Yeah.
So are we losing it? Just like doctors take a oath. Regardless if they ain't like you.
Wow.
They have to try and save you. You remember my name, Lennox?
Yes.
I know you were a chief doctor in Chile.
Yeah.
When he couldn't make it back to Cuba, what happened? Vagina, I think, still went, and this a man he put in jail, eh? Still went and tried to save him, but it was too late.
Yeah.
So what Griffin, something going wrong with Griffin, boy?
Yeah, he wants to be the police. He wants to be he wants to be the adjudicator, the judge, and jury, and he wants to be, of course, the executioner as well. That is madness. The separation of powers clearly is that, and respect for the independence thereof must be accepted. And if that is his philosophy, then it would have been, of course, in whilst he was a police commissioner, but he appeared to be a different person then, because I mean he came up against even the now Prime Minister, not to be just now talking about Rowley, when of course he was asked to go and arrest those persons who are having a party, those well-to-do community down in Westmoreland. Yeah, and Rowley was annoyed that he didn't go in there, and he said, no, I can't do it. There's no regulation to stop anybody from coming together in a private place. And he put Rowley in place. So I thought he was a fella who of course respect the law. But if what you're saying, he said that of course that these lawyers cause criminals to escape, I think he has lost his marbles. Yes.
He's an international backside.
He has lost his marbles. Yeah. I agree.
He had to hold his tail.
Yeah, hold his tail. Yes.
Something going on with him right now.
Yes, something going wrong. He realized that, of course, the writing is on the wall. His political career, short as it is, ephemeral as it has been, is dwindling and disappearing right before his eyes, and he can't take that. So what he has put together certainly has crumbled. All right.
But he had no hand. If he play poker, he had no hand.
No. And if you call me, I can give him some advice too as how to make amends and to salvage something. The first thing he has to do is, of course, to humble. And that narcissistic behavior, that egotistic disposition, it will be very difficult to convince him. But if he asks me for advice, I'll certainly try.
You know where you went wrong, Lennox?
Go ahead.
When he did the work, the first thing he went and do, he went with 12 food Egypt to try and arrest and do that.
Yeah, that's it. He did tow the PNM line.
So he was towing Rowley line?
Yeah, the PNM line, Rowley line. And, and the little that he resisted, he spoke out. But clearly, of course, that had to be, because at the end of the day, the investigation has shown that they didn't investigate any damn thing. Because, I mean, the DPP had to do what was honorable and legal by, of course, withdrawing those charges.
With all them police where event we look at who he think he's going to meet up with Al Capone and them fellas. I'm just still waiting for you, you know.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm still waiting for the bill that the state will get. But when Anand Ramlogan and Ramdeen finish with the treasury of this country.
Boy, you know, but that's where he loses the fella, no?
Yeah.
Ever talent he had, ever got him, he lost it right here by 29 for Rowdy.
Yeah, that's right. Now that we know, he could have camouflaged it earlier, and it could have been justifiable if, of course, he didn't take what I consider to be the awkward and self-destructing position that he has taken. And in fact, I was taken aback that he criticized even the ground report. I was surprised because it was we who, more than most, were the advocates for him becoming, of course, the commissioner.
Yes.
And he regularly called us, and we will interview him on the matter. He would, of course, I asked him, I remember, if he was approached, he said he will keep that to himself, and eventually, of course, we were saying, well, he should be the man, and then he became the man, and then we met with him, of course, in his office. There are certain things that we hoped we might have been able to assist him with, but of course that didn't materialize. And just like Watson Juke, we simply, of course, left that alone. And but today we have survived, and we are moving from strength to strength, while of course they are deteriorating and retrogressing as well. They are. Go ahead.
The way you come on the program yesterday morning.
Yeah.
It's like when the Japanese attack Pearl Harbor unexpectedly.
Oh yeah, like a bull in a China shop. He was chopping down everything.
Why? Everybody going about the business all of a sudden this man watching.
All right, my friend. Let me get out of here. Oh gosh, it's 35 minutes past already, so it's after 10:30. All right, I'll see you in the morning. All right, my friend, I hear you. Thank you. All right? Yeah. People, of course, we have come to the end of the program. Let me just, of course, see if we could partially conclude the video that we have on the... I was looking for the one where Patriotic was given the nod then, and of course, now they seem to be unable to qualify under specious or suspicious or circumspective position or argument that seem to be extremely nebulous. But we will examine that on Saturday night. But let's continue to the end of this video so we see what Rowley was and what we know what he was and what he is. Was here meaning before elections, before being Prime Minister. Now he's Prime Minister. This is the kind of talk he's talking.
Built in this country has to be built by the government. Every school, every health center, every this, every that. Because in this country, for the last generation or two, we've grown up on the government. Well, you better begin to be weaned off the government because the government's shoulder cannot carry the burden anymore. Well, you better begin to be weaned off the government. Well, you better begin to be weaned off the government.
That's just how it is. We have subsidized water, subsidized electricity, subsidized education. We have subsidized public transportation. And all of these things we now have to pull back on. All of these things we now have to pull back on.
The $2.5 billion that we spend subsidizing water rates has to come to an end. The $1 billion that we spend subsidizing electricity has to come to an end.
Every road to be built in this country has to be built by the government. Every school, every health center, every this, every that. Because in this country, for the last generation or two, we've grown up on the government. Well, you better begin to be weaned off the government. The government is not closing down Petrotrin. And in case you were just opening your fridge and you didn't hear that when you closed the door, let me repeat it. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is not closing down Petrotrin. The government is not closing down Petrotrin. And in case you were just opening your fridge and you didn't hear that when you closed the door, let me repeat it. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is not closing down Petrotrin.
Petrotrin's chairman Wilfred Espine is dismissing speculation that Petrotrin's oil refinery is to be sold to a private company. Mr. Espine is insisting no one is interested in purchasing a refinery that has proven it cannot make money.
A proposal from Petrotrin's government-appointed board indicated that the company's oil refinery is to be closed down. The new Petrotrin will focus entirely on exploration and production. The closure of the refinery means that the company will now import fuel to satisfy local demand. Following the announcement that the plant would be closed down, the next question naturally is who is going to purchase the plant. As far as Mr. Espine is concerned, there are absolutely no plans to sell.
There is no likelihood of that refinery being sold.
Just in case you are confused, well, that was the initial position. It's just like Rowley. He said that, of course, he was not closing down Petrotrin, and then, of course, he closed it down. Just as, of course, he said that there will be no property tax by his government, there is no property tax. Just as how he said no subsidies consideration, yes, that has been. And, of course, he did not tell us about VAT and the application of 12.5% to almost all, or a large section of the 7,000 items that were not VATable or attracting VAT under the Kamala Persad-Bissessar administration. The man is as despicable, not just liar, not just habitual, but the man sick and he is pathological, and it should be, of course, relegated to blue lights and silver bracelet in short measure.
No likelihood, so don't put in the minds of anybody an expectation, please.
Some 1,700 workers stand to lose their jobs.
In case you were just opening your fridge and you didn't hear that when you closed the door, let me repeat it. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is not closing down Petrotrin. The government is not closing down Petrotrin. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is not closing down Petrotrin.
This is massive go sign, and I'm giving you an account.
Rowley man account, Rowley man account, Rowley man account, Rowley man account. Hey!
Yes, people, of course, we have come to the end of tonight's program. Don't forget, of course, tomorrow morning, Friday, the last day of the week for the ground report. Andy, Michael, myself from 6 to 10 o'clock. Don't forget, around 7 o'clock, we will be joined by Gael, the Caribbean. And indeed, of course, no program for the corridor transformation tomorrow night. But certainly, of course, on Saturday night from 8 o'clock, we are back with these and others. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. Bye-bye.
The plantain, the cucumber, the pumpkin, the zapoka, even all the okra that there in every month. Rowley mother, Rowley mother, Rowley mother, come. Rowley, she don't know what to do, but what she really didn't know, he was thieving too. The boy had been thieving since he was very small, involved in corruption and all kind of bubble. So Rowley mother decided to do some checking, but anytime she checked, things still missing. Sweet potato and cassava, broccoli and cauliflower, the pawpaw and the mango, even all the passion fruit that there in every month. Rowley mother, Rowley mother, Rowley mother, come. lime and orange for you to make your choose. A hard-working woman, working day and night, but them
Beginning to be weaned off the government. Well, you better begin to be weaned off the government.
That's just how it is. We have subsidized water, subsidized electricity, subsidized education, we have subsidized public transportation, and all of these things we now have to pull back.